but it's not entirely... Okay, we're live. All right. Welcome, guys, to another episode of Bitcoin Tech Talk Q&A. This is the show every week where I go over the news of the last week and talk about some of the consequences and so on. Anyway, got a lot of things to talk about today, light wallets and things like that. Obviously, there's a lot of other things going on in the world, which might take priority if you happen to be in one of those places. But, you know, it's always good to look at what steady progress Bitcoin is making. So without further ado, let's go on to all of the stuff that's happened. All right, so let's take a look. Future of light wallets, Bitcoin Tech Talk issue number 190. Bitcoin Tech Talk is, of course, available to come into your inbox. It's the newsletter I write every week, and it comes in at 9 a.m. every Monday morning. And you can register on jimmysong.substack.com. All of that is in the show notes. All right, so let's take a look at the future of light wallets. So the thing about light wallets is that generally there's only really two models of doing light wallets right now. You can use some sort of trusted model, whether it's SPV or trusting the mycelium server or something like that, where there's a third-party entity that you have to trust in order to be able to get all of the data. SPV, you don't have to trust quite as much as, say, like something like the blockchain.info wallet, which gets all of its data from blockchain.info. But, you know, there is some level of trust. And Neutrino is probably even better than SPV because it takes out some of the denial of service and lying vectors and things like that. So really, the way to have a self-sovereign light wallet is to use some sort of a personal server. And that is, you become your own third party. So it's not a third party anymore, it's a first party. So you have a server at home that's running a full node that can give the light wallet the right data. And that's the setup that I think everyone should go towards, is some sort of setup where you know what's on the back end and you trust what's on the back end because you made it yourself. Now, Electrum is an early wallet that allowed for this model. Now, there is the Electrum wallet that uses sort of like a random Electrum server, in which case it becomes a rather, you're still trusting a third party, but you can run something called a Electrum personal server. So that is, you can run an Electrum server on your own and put that on the back end and make your Electrum wallet connect to that. But that means that you have to have an Electrum server, and you know the server does a bunch of things. It allows for address lookups, and it's much better from not just like a security perspective, but from a privacy perspective, because blockchain.info doesn't know which addresses and so on. Unfortunately, one of the Electrum server implementations, Electrum X, has gone full BSV. They were Bitcoin Cash for a while now. It looks like they're full BSV, and you can't use it to create a Bitcoin server. So there is a new interesting project from Shetzak. And this is called the Bitcoin Wallet Tracker. And essentially, it's a light wallet, XPub tracker, and a query engine. So it can replace a Electrum personal server by creating this using the Electrum plugin, and that in itself would be an excellent thing, because now you have a way to make that model. And Electrum uses I think something like Stratum as a protocol, so it's pure TCP based and not HTTP. So you have a socket open and you get notifications and things like that. Essentially, what you can do with that software is register some XPubs and then you hook it into your Bitcoin D, and then it'll keep its own database and tell you, okay, well, this wallet received this, and so on. I think this is the direction that light wallets need to go in. And, for a long time, I think light wallets expanded sort of horizontally instead of vertically. That is, they supported a lot more useless coins rather than integrating deeper with Bitcoin so that you would have personal sovereignty. I think the market's changing so that there are more people that are demanding better security for Bitcoin itself rather than being able to have some random coin that they're never going to possess. All right, here's the next story. This is Michael Ford writing about 4 different issues that he's been working on, and this is from BitMEX Research. I believe BitMEX is sponsoring Michael Ford, and Michael Ford is a very good developer who's been doing a lot more stuff around the build system, and this goes through these 4 particular issues, and why is he fixing this? What's the motivation here, and how does he fix it? So, fixing a hidden bug which prevented a security check from occurring, fixing a security weakness on Windows, solving a problem which weakened the random number generator caused by a failure to detect a function on Mac OS, and adding tests for a discrepancy in the behavior of the Mac OS linker when compared to the documentation. And this is very detailed, and he goes through, here's the Python code to show you how the input redirection works, and how we had to fix a bug as a result of it. Here's Bitcoin CLI, and what we had to do with respect to these different platforms. So like this is a level of like serious security maintenance, right? Like it's taking out like these aren't real vulnerabilities. It's just they have the potential to be used in a nefarious way if enough of them build up. So what Michael is doing in these fixes is taking out even anything that sniffs of vulnerability, and this is in huge contrast to other projects where they don't do this level of stuff. Ethereum barely has unit tests, it seems like, because no one checks to see if the things that they're fixing actually get fixed. So really good example of the level of security audits that we're doing in Bitcoin as to make sure everyone is safe. Jameson Lopp has released an open source transaction size calculator. Fees are annoying, but crucial part of it's a crucial part of the transaction construction. And this will help calculate the exact transaction size so you can have the appropriate fee on it. And this is pretty cool. So you can tell it that there's 2 pay to witness script hash, say 3 of 4, something like that, and we want 1 pay to script hash output and 1 pay to script hash pay to witness script hash output, and we can calculate, and it'll tell you here's the raw bytes and then virtual bytes and weight units. What you want to do is take the weight units and divide by 4 and then multiply that by satoshis per byte. It's usually V byte. Well, actually, I guess that's what 335 is. It's 1340 divided by 4. So you can use that number as to calculate exactly how much you should put. And this is great for wallet developers because this code is open source, and you can take a look at it right here, and you can use this to figure out how he figures out this stuff. I think it's in. No, that's Bootstrap. Yeah, I guess it's index.html. It's all in here. Yep, there it is. And you can look through this JavaScript code and figure out exactly how he calculates it and use that in your wallet code as well. All right. This is a very interesting and deep story, and this is from Chris Belcher, who talks about CoinSwap. And CoinSwap is a coin anonymity protocol that Greg Maxwell proposed in 2013. Essentially, it's kind of like a CoinJoin, except it's separate transactions on the Bitcoin network. So Alice coin swaps with Bob. So Alice sends to Bob's address and Bob sends to Alice's address. That would be a two-person coin swap. And you can do a more general one where a bunch of people keep swapping with one another, and you send to the next person, but who you receive from is completely different. And this has the effect of being able to defeat a lot of the chain analysis, and it's really cool because he proposes using ECDSA 2P, and it's essentially 2 of 2 multisig using ECDSA. Now, you could do this easier with Schnorr, but what he points out is, well, there aren't any Schnorr signatures on the network yet, so your anonymity set's going to be tiny, whereas ECDSA 2P, well, that's going to be very, very large because there's a lot of people using ECDSA signature. So he proposes a liquidity market, basically where you can be a maker or taker of these, and you could do two-person coin swaps or multi coin swaps and so on. It's a deep analysis of this protocol and all of the all of the ways in which to make it work, including fidelity bonds, who goes first, using it in conjunction with PayJoin, and so on. It gets really, really interesting. But the thing I saw from the paper that I still think might be a vulnerability is if you have a liquidity market, well, then that liquidity market centralized point knows who everyone else is, right? Like, and that's your de-anonymizing thing right there. Kind of like putting your money on an exchange and withdrawing it. It gets mixed around in the exchange, but if you have access to the exchange's records, then you can de-anonymize right there. So I think there's still kind of a flaw in there, but maybe someone can come up with something better as a way to get out of that particular dilemma. All right, Python, the Eye of Satoshi, TEOS, or the Eye of Satoshi. It's a Lightning Watchtower compliant with Bolt 13, and they're currently upgrading to Bolt 13 revision 1. But it's a Watchtower written in Python, which I think is really cool. And basically being able to install one of these in, like, say, a well-connected data center with access to Bitcoin, or maybe even like hooking up a satellite feed of the Bitcoin network from Blockstream or something like that, would be a way in which this could work. And you might not even need an internet connection if you do it that way. But Watchtower lets you punish the other punish somebody that's trying to cheat in a Lightning payment channel transaction. So this in itself is, the project is pretty cool, and I hope that it keeps going. All right, so Goldman Sachs had this slide deck on, on Bitcoin and so on, and I talked about it somewhat on Tone's show. This is a nice summary of everything that is wrong with Goldman Sachs, and basically, like, why they're wrong, and how these are points from 2014. It's if you want better information, this is, I think, a nice list. 7 things to read about Bitcoin for institutional investors. Wednesdays, Paul Tudor Jones, Bill Miller, Mark Andreessen. These guys, John Pfeffer and Vijay Boyapati. I think that's much better as resources than what the crap that Goldman put out. All right, and this is the last story in Bitcoin We Trust. State-backed digital currencies are like a Trojan horse that will benefit Bitcoin. And I think I agree with this. Essentially, once people figure out how convenient digital currencies are, if central banks start using them, they'll want an alternative that's actually decentralized or not controlled by the state, that's politically neutral. So, that's essentially the argument, that it's a way to get people used to digital value. And not not physical cash bills or something like that, which to some degree isn't that much of a leap than, say, a credit card or a debit card. But that's, I think, the direction that will help Bitcoin in the long run, and I think I agree with it. I did a bunch of podcasts, including 2 on this channel and 2 with Tone. And here are my 2 books. This one is Programming Bitcoin, Learn Bitcoin from Scratch. It's available for $45.08 from Amazon. And the other one is The Little Bitcoin Book. And this is available for $11.99. It's also available in audiobook, Kindle, Portuguese, Spanish. We'll be releasing the other ones pretty soon, hopefully. So those are all it. All right, so let's see if there are any questions, and then we'll finish off with my Twitter feed. Hi, Jimmy. I recollect you included a neutrino-based Bitcoin base layer mobile SPV wallet into your 2019 wish list. Is there a Snark wallet out there? Could you take a look at? There's a Snark wallet out there. Could you take a look at it? At some point, maybe. I haven't heard of Snark wallet. Let's see. World's first mobile Bitcoin wallet. Neutrino payment-based engine. Okay. Soundness meets privacy. Sure. Huh. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll have to take a look at it, but yeah, that in itself is interesting. All right. So let's take a look at the tweets from the past week. There's been quite a bit. Okay, what good ways could a commercial real estate be used for a Bitcoin business? Lightning lockers, some other ones, help people install and things like that. I still think like selling physical Bitcoin might be a decent business for somebody, because there are people that are there are people that might not be comfortable online and stuff, and just selling them like physical Bitcoins or something would be possibly useful. Every time I see Bitcoin price go down, it makes me think of spring being loaded. Remember, kids, in the long term, Bitcoin has a fixed supply and increasing demand. One of my more popular tweets this week, and absolutely true. Today I learned Nicole Resme not only wrote about the how monetary debasement is bad because money belongs to the community, but also that he proved the harmonic series is divergent. So I was a math major, and if you know anything about the harmonic series, that it goes to infinity, that's one of the major results, and he proved this in like 1300s, which is kind of crazy. And he wrote about monetary debasement in his major economic work, which I think predicted Bitcoin to some degree. So you need the consent of the entire community in order to expand the money supply, which is exactly the ethic of Bitcoin, and you're not going to get that, so it's not going to expand. Prices and attitude need time to adjust. As long as the lockdown continues, both will take the wait and see approach. Bullish on Bitcoin post lockdown. And this is referring to a lot of businesses. They're still trying to charge what they were charging before, but people have less money. So it takes some time to adjust, right? Same thing with attitudes. A lot of people think, it'll just go back to normal. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. People are going to have to take time to get used to what's happening. Am I the only one that's alarmed that nearly every business now requires you to register beforehand? Few businesses are taking walk-ins. I hope this isn't the new normal. And I've noticed this, right? Like if I want to go rock climbing, I have to go register online first. If I want to go eat at a restaurant, I have to register online first. What the heck? If I want to get a haircut, I think I have to register online first, though I cut my own hair. So yeah, it's disturbing, and I don't like it from a privacy perspective. I think it should allow walk-ins and so on. Bitcoin, because digital signatures are more secure than trusted third parties, and I talked about that a little bit today. Besides owning Bitcoin, what are you doing to lower your time preference? So some interesting stuff. A lot of people are raising families, exercising more, quitting alcohol, quitting drugs. Reading a lot more books, stacking knowledge and experience, learning to code, growing their own food, fasting, sleeping, learning. These are all, I think, very, very good things. And this is something that I think Bitcoin teaches is lowering time preference. Bitcoin, because decentralized emergent intelligence beats centralized planning every time. And this is something that I've learned from Safedine and his economics 12 course. And it's essentially the market has an intelligence that no single person has, which is that everyone knows how to do their own thing and they respond to their own incentives. But as a whole, there's an emergent intelligence that's far smarter than any one person. And central planning is essentially one person. At this point, there's going to be a new crisis every month to get us to forget the corruption from the previous crisis. And this, some people pointed out, is probably already happening and has been happening for a while. And yeah, it's kind of sad how that's happening. In the absence of good data, there's a tendency to use measurable, often unrelated data instead. To the uninitiated, the precision of the measurable makes such analysis seem more scientific. Such analysis is anything but. And I've seen this in a lot of social sciences, stuff in even in medicine to some degree. Cholesterol is very easy to measure, for example, so they give it an importance that probably it doesn't deserve. There are other things that they've since come up with that are much better markers of heart disease and things like that. But cholesterol is not one of them. It just happens to be easy to measure. And that's the error that a lot of economists make. That's also something that's made in our industry. A lot of people focus on transactions per second, for example. Decentralized digital speech is uncensorable. Decentralized digital money is unconfiscatable. Take back your rights with Bitcoin. And there's a lot of censorship going on some of these platforms. Well, if you really want to you're free to speak pretty much anywhere on the digital realm. It just can't be centralized. I'd love to see a politician run on the platform of eliminating the IRS and the income tax and relying solely on the Fed to fund the U.S. government as the lender of last resort. At least they'd be open about what they're doing already. I'd actually like to see that, see how that would work, because I suspect that the economy would be a lot more healthy instead of, all these taxes and all of the effort that goes into those. Riots cover up economic destruction from lockdowns, commercial real estate liabilities, government incompetence regarding the violence. Riots justify locking people down and a larger police presence everywhere. All very convenient for the government, terrible for us schmoes. This is what kind of makes me suspicious about this stuff. It's like it just lines up so well with what the government wants, right? Like they don't want to show the economic destruction from lockdown, so you have something worse and it sort of covers it up. Right now, commercial real estate is not doing well at all, but if they get a giant insurance payment, then they're covered, right? It's government incompetence regarding the virus. People forget about that in the midst of this rioting stuff. And it justifies locking people down, having earlier curfews, and having a larger police presence. Which is from the virus stuff too. Riots spreading way faster than the virus ever did. Seems to be the case in every city. Protests 2 weeks ago. These people have a point for Republicans. These are the worst people ever from Democrats. Protests now. These people are the worst people ever from Republicans. These people have a point from the Democrats. So I mean, they flip flop. It's I'm just pointing out their hypocrisy, but essentially they're all quote unquote looking for change, but nothing ever really gets done. If you want real change, just hold Bitcoin. That's the way to do it. Security cameras are everywhere. Anyone with a cell phone can be location tracked. If the government wanted to, they could prosecute every single looter and vandalizer. They have the technology and the evidence. So what's really going on here? And this, it's kind of the question I've been asking. Well, there are all these videos online of all of these people looting, and facial recognition software is actually pretty damn good. You know, I mean, I think a lot of these people could be arrested, but they're not being arrested. So what's going on? Are they just biding their time? Is this a honeypot to trap a lot of these people, or are they like allowing it to happen? I mean, the way to like end riots once and for all is to go arrest all of those people that did. Although, you know, then people would probably just keep their phones at home and wear better masks, I guess. But yeah, it just seems kind of crazy, just the lack of caution, I guess. But then again, I suppose I shouldn't expect much caution from people that are looting, which is kind of an impulsive activity in the first place. All right, so all that was it for today. I don't have a long read because my main story was on an open source project. So that's about it. Fiat delenda est. This song is done.